Hey, my name's Indy, I'm a travelling registered nurse, and that is really weird to introduce myself as that on this platform. I'm going to try and keep it nice and short and sweet, but this is going to be all your travel nursing questions answered in one video, hopefully. Fingers crossed. I just want to put this as a big disclaimer as well. I am not a recruitment officer. I have no affiliation with any agency. I am purely just giving you the facts that I know and what I have learned over the past 2 years whilst traveling and doing agency nursing. This is just general advice that I can hopefully share what I know across to you guys. I am a registered nurse. I have got medical, aged care, now ED background as well. So this is sort of what I know from my experience. I can't say this information will be right for you, obviously, if my experience and your experience is different, but this is a good place to start. So without further ado, I have a bunch of questions on my phone that I've screenshotted and collated into my notes. So grab a cup of tea. I'm going to share all the information that I can with you to make your travel nursing experience way easier and way more straightforward and a bit more streamlined. Because trust me, I do understand it does get quite intense. I love a good cuppa. Now, the biggest question I get asked was what was my personal pathway into travel nursing. Now, I'm going to give a quick, brief overview. Bear with me. Let's go through this together. So I am a level 5 RN. I graduated in 2018 and did a graduate program at a private hospital on the Gold Coast. I was in sort of like a rotational grad program. You do 4 months in a surgical ward, 4 months in a specialty, and then 4 months in a medical ward. I did my first 4 months in a surgical ward, which was post-ortho. Then I moved into oncology and hematology, which was also a palliative care ward. And then once I finished my grad year, I applied for a job on that same ward and then stayed there for another year. Now, also on the side, I was working in an aged care home. My third year, I worked in the nursing home as an AIN just casually while I was finished my nursing, and then they offered me an RN spot as well because I actually didn't get first round offers of grad programs, so I had actually planned to start at the nursing home as an RN. So I had already signed on with them before I got offered my grad spot in a hospital till I decided to quit my jobs and obviously leave to go traveling. I had about 6 months off hospital nursing. I was really burnt out. I sort of, just had some time off and refreshed myself. So that was September of 2020, and from there I have obviously been travel nursing since. I think I've done now collectively about maybe 7 or 8 contracts all across all states. I haven't worked in New South Wales or Tassie, so I like to spend 6 to 7 months in each state and you get a real good feel of it. Anyway, so that's my background. That's who I am. I am currently based in the beautiful southwest WA. I am obsessed. That's enough about me. That's a quick summary. I'm just going to get up my questions. So the biggest one I got was, how do you go about picking contracts? So let's start with how to find the contract. There's a really great page. There's 2 actually on Facebook, one called Rural and Remote Nurses Australia and the second's called Australian Nursing Agency Contracts. Those 2 pages, basically recruitment officers will pop on and sort of write like if they have jobs available. So that's one way to find it. That's a good place to sort of delve into and figure out what agency to go with. Because I forgot to mention it when I was filming, that if you contact the agencies over their website or speak to them on the phone, often you will get put onto their fortnightly or weekly listings of their jobs. So that's another way that you can sort of scroll through and find out which jobs they have available, but that's obviously once you've picked an agency or signed up with a few. When you start looking for a contract, you can have a look on there and sort of start trekking through the massive list of agencies that there are. There are so many. I often get asked which ones that I would suggest. I obviously, like I said, I only work with one at the moment. When you start looking for a contract, you can have a look on there and sort of start trekking through the massive list of agencies that there are. There are so many. I often get asked which ones that I would suggest. I obviously, like I said, I only work with one at the moment. So what works for me might not work for you. The biggest thing that I will put out there is that when you choose an agency, make sure they're going to work with you and for you. You have to find ones that are going to work for you often. And I'm not saying this is a generalization, but they are consultants. They are recruitment officers. So sometimes they don't always have nursing background. So you want someone that if basically shit hits the fan, you want someone that you can call and be like, hey, get me out of here. So you find an agency that works for you. You can be with more than one agency. I know that was one of the questions. So yes, you can be with as many agencies as you like. Where do you start to find the companies and what are the better places to go through? Again, That's a matter of opinion. You've got to sort of talk to a bunch of different agencies. I know when I was onboarding with an agency, I sort of spoke to like maybe 4 or 5. I called them and I said, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. This is where I'm going. What do you have? Because also remember, some agencies only work, say, in Queensland, or some only work in the NT. So that's something to keep in mind, that sometimes you might actually need to sign up with 2 or 3 if you're planning on traveling across the whole of Australia. If you're planning on just doing a couple of smaller contracts, say in North Queensland and things like that, there are multiple different agencies that cover that region. The next biggest question I get is about accommodation. So can you get family friendly, couple friendly, and dog friendly accommodation? And do you always get accommodation included in your contract? So yes, baseline answer is you always get accommodation included in your contract. I don't think I've ever heard of any agencies not covering accommodation, but I could be wrong there. I know myself, I have always had my accommodation included. That can range. So I'm just going to cover a quick side little note of what the accommodation can be like. Obviously, where I am at the moment is the most beautiful accommodation I think I have had in the past 2 years. Obviously, it is shared accommodation. Some of the other accommodations, generally I have been in nursing quarters, or some of the smaller towns have the old matron's flats. They're not super flash, but they do the job. Do you get couple, family friendly, and dog friendly? I obviously can't really speak for that because I am single, traveling with my car, and I don't have a doggo. But I know people that have traveled with families. Sometimes they'll subsidize your caravan park fees. I know that's quite common as well, especially if you are traveling Australia with your family and you have a van. Couples, it's a hit and miss. Some places don't like you having any visitors, but again, it's a matter of just asking and seeing what they have available. I forgot to add too, if you are traveling with your partner and they are also a nurse, there is definitely couple contracts available. Again, it's about asking your agency about what you can get. I've met quite a few couples that are traveling together, so it is definitely possible. With dogs, again, it's probably one of the biggest reasons I don't have a dog. It does limit you on where you're going, but I think that's just something when you do onboard with an agency, they need to be aware that, or that you are traveling with your dog and you will need dog-friendly accommodation. I can't say that will work for everywhere because some hospitals simply and some towns simply just don't have that facility for you. Someone said, I'm starting new grad next year and thinking of getting into travel nursing later. How did you start? A lot of agencies require you to have 2 years of experience, but some places also are happy to take you on 1 year of experience. As an agency nurse, you are basically thrown in the deep end. Often at a lot of places, they don't have the staffing facility to support you. And I mean that in the nicest way possible, but that you're expected to be able to feel comfortable in your decisions. You have to be competent in your clinical decision making and be a competent team member. They don't have time to train you and support you as you would in a regular hospital, or if you're permanent post your grad program. You are filling a staff deficit, so you've got to remember that they want you to be able to step on the floor with their staff members and do your job just as competently as theirs, if that makes sense. I don't want this to scare you. This is not to discourage anyone. It's literally just be aware that some places you are literally thrown on the floor with no orientation and you have to be able to nurse. Now, nursing is baseline everywhere, but it can be a bit overwhelming if you're not super comfortable in your own clinical decisions. I know myself, it took me about another year after my grad to be able to feel comfortable. Another question asks, any tips on not getting lonely or feeling isolated while traveling? Travel nursing is like a niche, right? It is the most beautiful experience, and still to this day I say it is the best thing I've ever done. However, it can get really isolating and you are by yourself a lot of the time. Myself, what I like to do at the moment by doing my postgrads, so that sort of occupies quite a lot of my free time. Other than that, when I am feeling lonely, I call my friends. You know what, we've never been more connected via technology than we have in this day and age. It's a simple phone call your friends, call your best friend, call your cousins, call your parents, call your grandparents. They're always wanting to have a chat. At the end of the day as well, you being away, I know can get really, really difficult. I really struggle with the guilt that I'm not there. But that's also something at the same time that you have to be at peace at, that you often miss those family events and those life events. I know I've missed quite a few weddings, so that's something that you have to learn. Whether it's travel nursing, whether it's traveling in general, you're going to lose those moments that you wouldn't have when you're at home. So basically call your friends, pick up a hobby, enjoy reading, enjoy your time by yourself. It's a bit harder because you don't have those comfort people, so you literally have to make the effort to go out and socialize. So if you want to go get a coffee with someone, you have to find a friend. You will also find as well, most of the nurses and people, doctors, allied health, anyone that you live with, even if they don't understand your situation, if you are feeling lonely, there is always someone out there for you. And if you get really confused and lost and don't know who to talk to, pop into my DMs. She's an active social media gal. Do you find that people show you around when you're on contracts? I'm going to link this back to the other question. Yes, I do find a lot of people in smaller towns are happy to show you around. It's my favourite way to travel Australia, is when you're in a really small town in a beautiful location, they will tell you the tips. Find the locals and then find out where to go. Someone said, did you work as an ED nurse prior to doing your travel nursing? As I said, no, I did not. I was purely ward-based, but in order to make sure I was able to do ED nursing, I have my ALS, I can cannulate and do venipuncture, and all the rest of the skills I have sort of learnt on the job. So I am now triage and resus competent, but that's also something that I've learnt on the job. I haven't done the conventional route. Is it full-time work when you're on a contract, or is there a minimum amount of shifts? I found generally it is full-time hours. Some places are a bit more flexible. Some places like you there to do the 40 hours, especially the facilities that are really, really short. They like you to do 40 hours a week. And obviously any overtime, that is up to the facility and yourself if you wanted to pick up. Would love to hear your opinion on families living this lifestyle. Someone said, I love to have to do this, but I have 3 kids and a mortgage. A lot of the people that I have met, I know recently I met a family that were traveling and they were picking up agency contracts. She was a nurse and he was a tradie, I believe, and they would stop in a town and pick up work for say a month or 6 weeks to basically fund their next lap or fund their next, journey travels. So it is viable. I know a lot of people actually do this to come and save. There's a lot of my Kiwi friends over here at the moment and they come across here basically to bulk save because you just can't make this money elsewhere. You can definitely do it with a family. I think it's just a matter of obviously sitting down and figuring out the logistics of it as well. I'm also single, so I have no idea. I don't think I should be giving advice about families. Or what type of nursing specialties have your contracts been so far? Most of mine have been in smaller facilities, so sort of like 12 to 18 beds. There's usually like 2 to 3 ED beds and 1 resus bed, and then it's attached to an acute ward, so usually that's like a 6 to 8 inpatient ward, and then generally there's an aged care attached. So they're called multi-purpose facilities. They're my jam. I really enjoy those, but for some people it doesn't suit their experience, and sometimes it can get a little bit scary when it's just yourself and another nurse on. Where I am at the moment is just a larger ED. The last question I'm going to ask is about staggering, like how to plan your contracts. So someone said, can you do a 10-week contract and then have 10 weeks off and then go back to another? The most exciting part of agency nursing is that it is up to your own discretion when you work. So I know some travel nurses like to do back-to-back contracts, just like you would with full-time work. You would do 8 weeks, a week off, 8 weeks, etc. in different locations. Myself, I like to do say 3 months on, and then I'll have about an 8-week gap until my next one, because that's when I like to travel and have my off time and really just purely up to sort of your discretion on how you like to do it. Some people like to plan out 6 months of contracts, but it also depends on whether the facility has their rosters and knows when people are going on annual leave and things like that, and when there's going to be a need. I think that's everything. So hopefully that answers most of any of those travel nursing questions. Obviously these are just a broad couple that I get, and now if you have any other questions, feel free to leave them down below, or I will also leave my links for TikTok, Instagram and things, and you can always pop me a message on them. And that is all. I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you guys shortly. Bye.